Are you kidding me? Should have taken the nail polish off before starting. Oh well. In the past, we imported our VPC, we created a Lambda, and we created an S3 bucket. This time around, we are going to create an EC2 instance using Terraform, and it's going to be within AWS. So let's go ahead and get started. For creating our directory structure, I'm going to do something differently because I created a tool for that. My tool is available in the Git repo, and all I have to do is just give it a name. And there it is. Now with that, it gave us our directory structure. Let's minimize this, and our backend. So it filled out our backend file, our database, and some tags, and the project name, and our basic variables. Now that that's set up, we can go ahead and start doing this. And again, this will be speed ramped and explained afterwards. I don't know why I don't do these before. Thank you, autosave. Alright, now that I have everything and it's formatted, let's review. First thing we want to do is use the data for the AWS AMI, and we're going to search for AWS Linux. And what this will do is it'll pull the existing image to us so that we can find it. And we're going to use the most recent. We're going to filter first off the name, and the name's going to start with this hash here. And if you look at any of them, let's just bring it up real quick. And you go to the AMIs, and you go to public. Now I can grab this here, and and I can plug it here and search, and it'll show me the AMIs available with the name. I guess I could be a little bit more specific, but what it'll do is it'll grab the most recent one of these AMIs, and we'll actually be able to see the number if we want to compare it. And we're also specifying this account owner as here, so that's the same. And we're going to grab that AMI. Then we're going to do the Resource Security Group for our instance, and I'm combining SSH and web. So web and SSH access globally. Our first inbound or ingress is the CIDR block for the world, so everything can access it on port 22. You'll want to change this to a restricted IP. So either your home IP if you're doing the home game, or if you're in an office environment, that office IP. Protocol will be TCP. We don't have any IPv6, and we don't have any prefix IDs that we want to whitelist like global groups, and we do not have any subnets or security groups associated with this. Where's my VPC ID? Oh boy. I forgot something. VPC ID equal var.vpc ID. Okay. Oh, I'm glad I reviewed. And then we'll need to associate this security group with a VPC. If you have multiple VPCs, or it'll use the default. In our case, we're going to use the one that we specify. So we got our VPC. We have our inbound rule for 22, our outbound rule, or inbound rule for 80, and our outbound rule we have no restrictions, so it can go anywhere. And that's the from port, and the to port is 0, meaning all ports, and the protocol being -1 means it'll do TCP, UDP, and ICMP. Then we have our resource instance. So we'll have an AWS instance and EC2. Sorry, EC as our name. For the AMI, we are going to use this data that it finds up here. So AWS AMI, AWS Linux, and then the ID number. The instance type we're going to set as a variable, so we'll set that. We'll probably default it to T3 micro. Our security group, we're going to use only the one security group that we specified up here and grab that's ID after it's generated. The key name, you should already have your SSH key provisioned and set up from your instances. And that will be, I lost it, key pairs. So it'll use this key pair, which I'll specify in the config, but you can have multiple, or as a variable. You can have multiple key pairs though. But this is the one we're going to use because I only have this one. Associate public IP address, true. If you set this to false, then nothing outside can get to it. There are use cases for this if you have a VPN set up through to your AWS data center, or if you have stuff through elastic load balancers or auto scaling groups and a load with a load balancer on the front end so that it auto deploys. You do not have to have a public facing IP. I don't have all that, so I'm going to set it to true. Our subnet ID we're going to set as a variable. Then we have tags and tags again. So let's set our variables. So we set our VPC ID, as you saw. Well, let's go back about this backwards. We set the SSH key name, and we got that from our key pair. The instance type we set. You can always Google AWS instance types and get a complete list of all the instances that you can use or are available. It does not have to be one of these specifically. I just chose the T3 micro because I was happy with the price per hour. And then we went to the subnet, and we pretty much just chose one of our existing subnets. There's other ways you can do this, and we'll explore those in detail later, but we just grabbed a subnet for it. And then the VPC ID, that subnet's in this VPC. So, and again, there's other ways we can get these details, and we'll go into that later. Then we formatted it, and now we can initialize it. Oh, I found my error. Okay, let me fix my error, and I'm gonna stop here, and it'll cut and be fixed. Now that I fixed the error with my DynamoDB table, let's go ahead and format again, and init, since I deleted the other init stuff. Planet. It's going to add two things, so let's go ahead and see. Let's see, first thing is going to be the instance. Let's go ahead and look up this AMI. Make sure that's the one we want. Nope, not VPC. EC2. Instances, AMIs. So, yep, that's the one we want. GP2, X64, okay. We can even be more specific in the naming of it, but there's really no need to after a certain point. Okay, so got that. Type is T3 micro. SSH key will be my hi-fi TF key or Terraform key. Subnet ID is what we specified in the dev file. And then our tags. Everything else will be known after reply, which is all default. This is pretty much an instance that you get if you just click next. And then we have the security group for the instance. And now we have both a description on both ports. So the egress or outbound will be to the world, to everything, from everything to everything. So it'll be able to access all outbound ports and all outbound protocols. Again, you can get finite with this. And then we have our inbound or ingress, which is everything is allowed to access on SSH and everything is allowed to access on HTTP. So let's go ahead and apply it. So it says it's created it after 14 seconds. But if you go to instances, so it says it's still initializing. I usually give it a minute or two to initialize before I try. And you can get the system logs here if there's anything that it's output. In this case, it doesn't look like it has anything to complain about. You can also connect to the instance from here, and it'll give you how to do it via SSH. Nope, missed the window. I missed a switch that was needed, and now I can SSH to it. Now I can go ahead and install a default web server. Now that I have the default web server, let's try it from here. Not secure in my Apache test page. Alright, so now that we have everything set up and we can use this anytime to deploy an instance, let's go ahead and kill it. Now with that, I would like to thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you like the content, and I will continue to do these instructional videos.